Good evening, friends. At the outset, my thanks to Kedila for extending the kind invitation, and thanks to the chairperson for the kind introduction. And I'm really humbled to be a speaker on the occasion of the IIM ICON. And to put the things in perspective, first of all, I had the honor and I had a privilege of personally knowing Indra Modi sir, and he was a great motivator, he was a great visionary, and today it would be my pleasure to talk about one of his innovations, that is the innovation of Polycab. We have been hearing about the concept of polypill since years. I think we have been talking about polypill since last 1 decade now. But it is for the vision of Indra Modi sir that it's a reality now in form of Polycab. Why an endocrinologist and diabetologist is talking about the cardiovascular risk? Because we mostly treat patients with type 2 diabetes, and you all know that most of the type 2 diabetes they succumb to cardiovascular complication. So diabetes management for us is not just control of blood sugars in terms of the numbers. It is in terms of the cardiovascular risk reduction and improvement of the or increase in the longevity of the diabetic patient. So I'll start the discussion on the cardiovascular risk management and what are the challenges we are facing and what are the solutions we have in the hands. So first of all, let us start with the current challenges. The current challenge is the greatest challenge in our practice is the changing epidemiology. Till few decades back, diabetes was type 2 diabetes was mostly seen in people more than 40 years of age, and they had less aggressive progression, and the complication usually occurred after age of 60 years. But now the epidemiology is changing. We are seeing more number of type 2 diabetic patients at the younger age, in the 20s, in the 30s, and it is associated, and it's not only type 2 diabetes, they have the cluster of the risk factors at a very young age. They have obesity, they have dyslipidemia, they have hypertension, and they have all sort of wrong lifestyle. So that makes them very vulnerable to the cardiovascular complication at a young age, maybe in their 40s. The other current challenge is the early detection of the risk factor, because again traditionally the people they don't get themselves checked at an earlier age, and it's only after age of 45 years or only age of 40 years they start really getting themselves checked routinely. But as I said, diabetes and other cardiovascular risk factors they present at earlier age now in 20s and 30s. So early detection of risk factors is important, because unless we detect these risk factors early, we can't treat them early, and we can't prevent or delay a cardiovascular event. And last and most important is the control of the risk factors. Okay, we have identified the risk factor, and now are we effectively correcting or treating those risk factors, or are we leaving it alone, and or are we under treating it? That I will be discussing. So the solution is the implementation of guidelines. What is implementation of guidelines? Guidelines are meant to be implemented. If guidelines says that the blood sugar pressure of a diabetic patient should be maintained below 140 by 80, then it has to be followed. We usually individualize the guidelines, that for this patient 160 is okay, for this patient 170 is okay, and we'll see in the next follow-up visit about the blood pressure issue. And so we keep on delaying the things, and as an endocrinologist I was surprised to see the statistics of the HbA1c control worldwide. The HbA1c control in US, if we talk of US, less than 35% of the patients they have HbA1c of less than 7. Then same is the scenario across the Europe. Less than 30% of the European population has a HbA1c of less than 7. If you combine the classical three risk factors, that is the diabetes, hypertension and dyslipidemia, less than 25% of patients are achieving the combined target of. What are the classical risk factors for the cardiovascular disease? So there is no doubt about it that hypertension, obesity, dyslipidemia and type 2 diabetes and associated truncal obesity, it contributes to the increased cardiovascular risk, and the screening for this cardiovascular risk factor should begin early on in the course of the illness of the patient if he or she has a strong family history and presence of the external risk factors like obesity. Now the issue of control of risk factors. So I was sharing the statistics about the diabetes control, but these statistics are almost similar as far as the blood pressure control is concerned. That there is inadequate control of blood pressure in spite of regular visit to doctor. So the patient is not at fault. He is visiting the doctor regularly and presumably he is taking the medicines regularly. But are we proactive in controlling his blood pressure? About 50% do not have treatment change despite persistently elevated blood pressure, and despite of multiple guidelines, the blood pressure is above 150 and is untreated. And only 60% have the systolic blood pressure reduced to less than 140. Now this slide shows the implementation of the guidelines in management of patients. Now this is a publication from the Lancet, and it is the latest publication in 2011, and you can see the study showed underuse of low cost medicines for secondary prevention among participants with a history of the cardiovascular disease or stroke. So patient already had cardiovascular disease or stroke, and look at the percentage of the patients taking this classical drugs which are recommended in 100% of this high risk patients. So ASARBs only 20%, statins only 15%, beta blockers only 17%, and antiplatelets only 25%. So that is the state of affairs as far as the treatment with the classical cardiovascular drugs are concerned. Now this slide shows the EURECA study, that is the European study on cardiovascular risk prevention and management in usual daily practice. So to put this study in perspective, the study focused on the implementation of various guidelines by the practicing physicians. So most of them they followed these guidelines of the European Society of Cardiology for CVD prevention and hypertension, but the number was about 50%, whereas 12 to 13% of the clinicians did not follow any guidelines. They followed their own guidelines, which they had formulated mentally during the course of the practice. Now this is the slide which puts the concept of the polycap in perspective, that there is always a issue of the adherence to the medicine and the persistence of the various medicine we prescribe. I didn't realize the gravity of the situation until I saw the prescription of one patient who had 25 medicines prescribed in a single prescription, and I kept on wondering that he must be really having a very sharp memory to remember 25 drugs to be taken in a day in the various times. So as the number of tablets increases, the compliance takes a hit, and that is evident from this graph, that the rate of continuation and discontinuation of the medicine. So if 3 medicines are prescribed, only 66% of patients will take all 3 medicines. I am not talking of 25 medicines, I am talking of only 3 medicines, and still you can see the compliance. 12% will discontinue all medicines. So this are the group of patients we can't have much hope, because even if we give a Polycap, they are likely to skip the Polycap also because they are not taking any medicine. About 4% discontinued use of 2 medicine, and about 18% discontinued 1 out of 3 medicine. So non-compliance and non-adherence is rampant for any chronic disease, be it diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia or coronary artery disease. And 1/3 of the patients discontinue treatment within 1 month of starting of treatment. Now this slide shows the effect of a fixed dose combination strategy on adherence and risk factors in patients with or at high risk of CVD. And 2000 odd patients with established cardiovascular disease or who are at high risk of CVD were enrolled in India and Europe. And the objective was to assess whether fixed dose combination delivery of aspirin, statin and antihypertensive drugs versus usual care improves the long-term adherence to the medication. And this was the result. You can see that the compliance and adherence to the fixed dose combination, that is the polypill, was significantly high. Significantly means much significantly high, 23% versus 77%. Threefold increase in compliance was seen. And that again puts the concept of the Polycap in limelight. It is an innovative idea to decrease the cardiovascular risk with improved compliance. So basically we are giving same drugs, but we are giving it in a single pill. So compliance will go up by 3 to 4 times if you are using this strategy. It will improve adherence and hence it will reduce the cardiovascular risk in long run. So what are the components of the Polycap? We have aspirin 100 mg, ramipril 5 mg, simvastatin 20 mg, atenolol 50 mg and hydrochlorothiazide 12.5 mg. And the bioavailability of the fixed dose combination in Polycap is equivalent to the individual drugs given alone. That has been proved by the trials with all the molecules. Most importantly, 92% of patients completed the trial. So the rate of adherence and persistence is really high. Now this was the trial, again a Lancet publication, the Indian Polycap study, and we studied the mean changes in the blood pressure. So here patients were either randomized to a Polycap or they were randomized to a 1 BP lowering drug, 2 BP lowering drug or 3 BP lowering drug. And as you can see that Polycap was significantly more effective in reducing systolic and diastolic blood pressure as compared to 3 antihypertensive drugs given individually. So there was better control of blood pressure, there was reduction in heart rate, LDL levels, platelet aggregation. The effects were similar to individual drug regime, and 85% patients completed the trial in the Polycap arm. So the adherence and the persistence was really high in Polycap group. So Polycap reduces multiple risk factors with improvement in the compliance was the conclusion of the trial. So benefits of the polypill are the advantages of a polypill containing all cardiovascular preventive medications. So as an endocrinologist, we prescribe statin for primary prevention. We prescribe aspirin for most of the type 2 diabetic patients for primary prevention. We prescribe antihypertensive because 80% of our type 2 diabetics are hypertensive also. So we prescribe antihypertensives in our routine practice. So it would be a great idea to use all the ingredients together in a single pill, that is the Polycap. It leads to significant CV risk reduction, improved adherence and compliance, reduced side effects, and it has significant cost savings, because if you add individual 5 components, then it will come around say 45 to 50 rupees per day, whereas a Polycap, if I am not mistaken, is around 15 to 16 rupees for all the 5 ingredients per day. There is widespread global interest among the physicians, patients and the policymakers for the polypill concept. Who can benefit from Polycap? Patients with established cardiovascular disease, that is patients having heart disease and stroke, that is for the secondary prevention, with or without hypertension, with or without dyslipidemia, and patients with hypertension and dyslipidemia, this is for primary prevention. So, in a nutshell, large number of patients can benefit with this combination. So, to summarize, CV risk management has several challenges, and fortunately we have solutions to most of the challenges. CHD and stroke are the biggest killers worldwide. Hypertension and dyslipidemia are major risk factors. Risk factors require early recognition and effective control to ultimately reduce the cardiovascular risk in the long run. New guidelines recommend polypill for effective control of multiple risk factors, and Polycap is effective and well-tolerated solution for the changing epidemiology which we are facing in last 1 or 2 decades. So thank you for your kind attention.